guys, how are you? Cult of Chucky is the latest offering in the Child's Play series, the 7th in the series, and is currently out on video on demand and Blu-ray and DVD in the States. It will be out in the UK in the next couple of weeks. And what do we get in this movie? Well, Cult of Chucky follows directly on from the events of Curse of Chucky. Nika, once again played by Fiona, Dourif, is now in an insane asylum where she's receiving shock therapy, and the doctors are eventually convincing her that she is the one that's at fault for the murders that occurred in the last movie. Nika gets moved to a slightly lower security prison, and that's when the film really starts to get going. So in this new asylum she meets a whole host of characters: Michael, Claire, Madeline and Angela, and these are the core characters in the movie, other than the character of Dr. Foley, a couple of nurses, and that's pretty much it. Brad Dourif once again returns to voice Chucky, and we also get extended cameos from Alex Vincent as Andy Barclay and Tiffany, who is once again played by Jennifer Tilly. When I heard the Andy Barclay character was coming back into the movie, I actually did think that this actually could go in a very good direction. And his character, although he's not in it as much as I was expecting, really does move the movie along, especially from the opening scene where you see him on a date and he's talking about the events of the first movie, and then we move to his cabin in the woods, and then we get quite a big surprise even before the movie's opening titles hit, and that really sets up for what is going to come in the next hour and a half. Jennifer Tilly I was a little bit more apprehensive about because I didn't particularly like Bride or Seed as much as the rest of the series, but here they've thankfully played it quite subtle. We do get a few of the Jennifer Tillyisms that we got in those other two movies, but again, her part isn't overplayed, it's not hammed up too much, and we get a nice balancing tone here between the Curse of Chucky original Child's Play style tone and the more light-hearted, humorous versions of Bride and Seed, although thankfully it never goes that far. It is very subtle and it works really well in this movie. I've got to admit I preferred the style of Curse of Chucky, which was more psychological and more original horror, but this works in a really good way, and due to the fact that it's set in an insane asylum, Don Mancini really gets a chance here to play with the characters and the symbolism, and we get quite a few callbacks to other horror movies and quite a lot of Easter eggs if you look in there really deeply. Also, Nika's not even been at the asylum for 5 minutes before she's getting some with one of the inmates as well, so we'll get a little bit of sex as well as the violence in the movie. The character of Dr. Foley is just as seedy as you'd expect him to be for working in one of these asylums in one of these horror movies, and he really does play with Nika's brain by hypnotising her at points, and she really does believe that she is the one that's committed all of these murders, and also he makes her think that she's committing the murders that are happening now as well. As you can probably guess by now, I'm not going into any deep spoilers here. I'm going to keep this quite superficial and just talk about the movie as it is, because I don't want to spoil what comes in the movie, because to be fair, what I was expecting and what I got were two slightly different things, and it did really catch me out of left field towards the end of the movie, because I really wasn't expecting it to go in the direction it did. The movie does run in quite a slow, methodical way, and the first act and a half are actually quite slow. We don't get a kill for the first sort of half an hour of the movie, but then we do get some inventive kills by Chucky when it really sets into high gear. Talking about Chucky, we do get some nice inventive kills. He does certainly play games with the characters, and the doll itself is absolutely fantastic. The animatronics are a lot better than we've seen before, and the doll, although it looks slightly different, works in a really good way, and we do actually get to understand why the doll looks slightly different from what we've seen before. So once again, the movie is written and directed by Don Mancini, as the last three movies have, and he's written every single movie in the series, which is quite good, because what he does here is he literally ties together strands from every single one of the movies. So even though we all hated Seed of Chucky, or well, the majority of people hated Seed of Chucky, he ties in strands from every movie, so everything is canon and everything makes sense, and we do get a lot more drawn in from certain movies. So the writing is very clever here. The direction is absolutely fantastic. Don Mancini has come on so far with his direction from Seed of Chucky. This film looks really nice, it looks really good. Although the colour palette is slightly washed out, it works really well in this setting. And the very clinical style of the asylum works really well for this sort of movie, especially when the blood splats hit and we get to see those deep reds. Don Mancini really does have fun playing with these characters, and the setting of the asylum is absolutely fantastic for that. As I mentioned, the Chucky doll is absolutely fantastic. Brad Dourif returns to voice him. The animatronics are a lot better than we've seen before, and the doll does look slightly different, but that is explained why. Cult of Chucky is a solid entry into the Child's Play series. I enjoyed watching it, and the characters throughout give good performances. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of Andy Barclay. The level that we get of Tiffany, in my opinion, is just about right. But Fiona Dourif, it stands out as an absolutely fantastic part in this movie, and the way her character changes throughout the movie is absolutely fantastic, and there are just certain subtleties that she gets just absolutely spot on, and it almost makes you think, is this why they cast her 4 years ago for Curse of Chucky? Was this the master plan all along? Because this movie does take us in a direction that I certainly wasn't expecting, and it really does set up the possibility of an 8th movie, and a very different 8th movie at that. So I look forward to seeing how this movie does. As I mentioned, it's straight out on video on demand, Blu-ray and DVD. It's out in the States now, it'll be out in the UK really soon, and it is a very, very good movie. It's not as good as Curse of Chucky, which is why I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5, but it is a good movie. Certainly a very solid entry for Don Mancini. The writing is really good, and I love the fact that it's tied strands of the movie together. Also, watch out for the Easter egg right at the end of the movie, because again, watch the credits right at the end. There's an Easter egg at the end of the movie, and look forward to seeing the 8th movie. It could be absolutely fantastic. Or if this is the last movie in the series, then it is a very interesting way to end the series. That's all I'm going to say. Where do you put it in the series rankings? What did you think of the movie? Where do you think the series is going to go next? Hit the subscribe button if you've not done so already, and I'll see you really soon for another review. Thanks for watching. Bye.